So when we're talking about concentration, we can describe it in two different ways. We can use qualitative terms, like the term concentrated or dilute. That's where we're using words to describe what we see. We can also use a quantitative term, where we actually give a number to our concentration. When we do that, we refer to it as the molarity. So we have a formula for how to calculate molarity. So molarity is going to equal the moles of our solute over the total liters of our solvent, okay? So that's essentially telling us, or I guess you can think of it as like the total liters of solution. Okay, so it's how many moles we have over the total liters. So let's look at some practice problems, okay? So we're gonna do a few together, and then I'll give you a chance to try a few on your own, and then hopefully you'll feel pretty comfortable with it. This formula is a good one to use with our triangle, where we have molarity is moles over liters, right? So now we can use our triangle to help us find any different variable we need to. So in the first question, we're looking for molarity. So I know that's going to be moles over liters. So I'm just going to look in my problem. I have 0.450 moles over, this is 95 milliliters. So the only trick here is that we need to remember that there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So if I have 95 milliliters, I need to divide it by 1,000 to give me my liters. Okay, so when I do that, I end up with 0.095. Then I can just take my calculator and plug in my 0.450 divided by 0.095, and we end up with something like 4.74, and then we put a capital N for M for molar. So this is a 4.74 molar solution. Okay, let's look at another one. So I have our, here I'll kind of blob out these answers real quick. I have these there so we can kind of check ourselves, but we want to, again, make sure we know how to work them out. So let's try those. So again, we have our triangle, right? Molarity is N over L, moles over liters. In this case, I'm looking for moles. So what am I going to do, right? I'm going to take my N, and it's going to equal my molarity times my liters. So let's see. I have a 0.25 times, again, here's our milliliters. So remember, we have to divide by 1,000, 0.075. When I use my calculator to multiply these out, I end up with 0.019, and then again, this is moles, okay? And that luckily was my answer there that we crossed out. Okay, let's do one more together, and then I'm gonna let you do a few on your own, okay? In this one, we're given grams and we're given our milliliters. So we know we have to divide by 1,000. Okay, but if I'm looking at my triangle, grams is not on here anywhere, right? But moles is. So the first step of this is just going to convert grams to moles. This is a very common thing to do because when we're in the lab, we don't measure in moles, right? We measure in grams. So we have to be able to convert. So if we start with 15 grams, I can find my molar mass of NaCl. Per 1 mole. Then when I divide, I end up with 0.26 moles. So now I'm ready to use my formula to solve for my molarity. So 0.26 over 0.075, remember, because we converted our liters. And we end up with 3.46 molar. Okay, so this is pretty much all there is to it with these practice problems. So go ahead and take a second and try a few on your own. And then you can check your answers at the end.